Hi everyone, welcome to my Figma investing video. So this is one of the first videos I'm kind of making talking about recent investment news and things like that. So on the channel, I talk about coding and design and product management a lot. And I wanted to talk about a really special product called Figma. I don't know if you've used Figma before, but essentially it helps you design software. I've used it for the past 3 years, and the reason I'm really excited is that Figma is going IPO, and that means you can buy a share of Figma stock, or what's called like Class A here, where hopefully sometime this year in 2025 you'll be able to buy Figma as a product. Now, my reasoning for wanting to invest in this stock, and I'm going to, is that Figma is a really great product that understands its customer. There's a really tight relationship between, the product managers that use Figma, the UI, UX designers, and developers who use Figma collaboratively, in which you kind of work within a single design space, kind of shown here on some of the screenshots, right? And a lot of products don't really have the same traction as Figma. And my reasoning and think behind that is sort of my core competency. I'm competent with Figma. I can design something in Figma. I understand it inside and out and how to apply it. And I also can see that everyone else in the software industry is also using this software product. So I think that's my insight into this company and its product. Are the fundamentals going to be perfect? Probably not. But I do think Adobe wanting to purchase Figma for $20 billion says a lot. And if they probably had to do like a net present value modeling calculation on investing in Figma, right? Where they have to decide, is it worth the $20 billion to buy Figma out? And will we get a return on our investment? Which I think they were going to do until, the UK government kind of said this is going to be a monopoly. We can't let you guys do this acquisition. And that's why the deal didn't go through. And Figma got $1 billion for that deal falling through, right? Because it costs them money to kind of set this whole thing up where they're getting acquired. And honestly, it's a huge win for consumers. The moment I heard as a designer or, as a person who wireframes in Figma that Adobe was going to buy Figma, I was really disappointed. And that's because Adobe as a product for a long time has very, very bad pricing, expensive pricing that you can't really opt out of without paying money. So if you paid for a year-long license and you're like, I just want to cancel, this is terrible, you're going to have to pay money for the rest of that year, even though you didn't use the software. And that's really predatory and kind of, I would say, annoying about Adobe. And for a long time, I think designers are desperate for the design space to get disrupted. Um, you look at Adobe Premiere, everyone uses Adobe Premiere edit videos. It's the best product out there for editing. People are looking for alternatives because the way Adobe's terms and services are so expensive for their teams, right? And then Figma came in to make it easier for UI, UX designers to create prototypes, to get code out of it. I can't tell you how difficult it is to share Adobe like UX slide with a client, right? You need permissions, you might need an extra license. You want to show it to a third person, probably your manager. It's incredibly difficult, right? And Figma simplified it to the point where they a viewer of something is free, so I can view something for free, right? Now you could do the same thing in Adobe, but it's a little bit more clunky, is my point. And but like I just go in Figma, I get the link, and I see the prototype immediately, and I can play the prototype. There's no, password setup. You can go in as a guest. It's great, and I think that's a distinct difference. Now, I just want to talk about some of these metrics. And I think the reason you're seeing this like 46% growth is that so many software companies, we're talking about large like Netflix, Duolingo are using this stuff, and then companies around them are also adopting Figma. That's why you see this huge jump in growth. And, this like lifetime monthly revenue, I think LTM, what does that stand for again? 12 months. You're going to become educated with me because I'm not an expert. New trailing 12 months. Oh, okay. All right. So their trailing 12 months is like $821 million in revenue, which is huge. And I think that's why Adobe is going to buy them, right? And then, the thing with software sales, right, your gross margin is 90%. And that's why I think everyone does SaaS, and really that's SaaS pricing. If you think about it, right? That's all Figma is. It's $16, $15 per user, and then there might be some discounts if you do volume buying, right? And just the fact that this net dollar retention means that they're seeing real growth and expansion growth within their business model. That existing customers are buying more licenses, and new customers are buying enough that they're outgrowing their current user base. This is really important metric that I could explain sometime in another video. It means that, if I have 1,000 users and we grow 100 more, that's like a 110% net dollar retention, that people are staying with the platform and they're staying subscribed, and that we're seeing growth every year. So you always want to see this number above 100% basically. And I think the problem with this investment is that a lot of IPOs, if you watch IPOs, is that they go up in price immediately in the first month and then they decrease in price because the market has a poor understanding of how that business actually functions. And the great thing I'm telling you in this video is that Figma is becoming the de facto way to design software. And I think the direction they're going in with AI is software is becoming commodified. And, there's always going to be that aspect where it takes a lot of skill and craftsmanship to develop great software. But a lot of these tools are automating a lot of the boring stuff that I have to do, wireframing wise, or I have to do, really repetitive work as a designer that saves me a ton of time. I'm talking about like doing a sign up flow for the cajillionth time. Every app, I have to design a sign up flow. You get kind of tired of that. And the promise with AI is that they're going to automate some of those really annoying things. Now, I think the great thing about Figma is you can design new types of UI, new types of UX, and that's really exciting. You can dive deep into their S1 to kind of understand their long-term plan. And what's happening right now is like I'll design something in Figma and then build that in Framer, right? Figma is now launching Figma Sites where I can design something in Figma and then we go right to Figma Sites and ship it. And I think they're just kind of creating that full loop of that no code software experience. And that's really exciting there. So I think what makes this, to me, a long-term value investment is simply that the product's great. Customers can't really live without it. I still can't live without it. And they have a long-term vision of where they're going to go with the product and how they're going to compete with everyone else. And I think everyone else who uses product, will end up investing in the same thing the same way. People who use Apple products are most likely invested in Apple products, right? So I think it makes a lot of sense. It's easy to understand. Figma, it's just a software to design software, right? And that sounds incredibly simple, and I think it should be kept simple because if you don't understand their business model and the way they create revenue and the way they sustain themselves, right, I don't think you should invest in that, right? So I just think Figma is an investment of a lifetime, and I'm going to invest in it. I wanted to talk about it. I've talked about other investments in the past that I've looked at, like Nintendo and FLNG and stuff like that. But I think this company is really on the right track where in the past I've had to design software on paper and then in a meeting communicate to people what that software should look like. That's a very, very time consuming. And they've completely changed that, right? And it's so much easier, it's so much faster. So, yep, I just think, I think my final comment will be this. I was going to wrap it up, but people misunderstand software a lot. And really, what I mean by software is becoming commodified is that software is competing on the user design. If I download TikTok, for instance, and compare that to Instagram Reels, TikTok just has a superior UX design. Go try it out right now. And you're going to be like, oh, making a video in Instagram Reels is a lot harder than on TikTok. It's so much easier to make a video on TikTok than Instagram Reels. And that's what I mean by like the user experience, the design is where software is competing at. That is where the competition is happening between users' times, because every software is competing for customer or user's time, right? And if your software's user experience isn't good enough where users are staying longer than they should compared to a competitor software where they go, okay, I'm just going to use Excel, forget using this, I'm going back to the old way of doing things, then that's a problem for your business. And that's what you need to solve immediately is the user design where I don't go back to my alternative tool, right? And that's really, I think, the meat of the problem, and that's what Figma is solving for so many software companies is the ability to explore that with their teams creatively. Like I can be in a room and I can collaborate with people and we can discuss different ideas or sketch something really quick and then throw all those ideas together to build something exciting and new and putting that out there pretty fast, right? Depending on how complex it is. So yeah, give me a like or subscribe. Tell me if you like these videos or not. My channel's touching a lot of different topics like coding and design and investing. I think I just like all aspects of this because it ties into like building a quality software product. Those are the main things. And I think if you don't really have those things, you don't really build something of quality, right? So, but anyways, thanks for watching.